Sorry.
You're right, thank you.
Very safe one.
All right, welcome back. If this is your first time visiting, thanks for joining us. Now, thanks for being patient with me for, those of you who've been watching my videos. I know they've been really far and wide between, obviously since I started working, and I'm about 150 Ks between my bikes and my work. So I only really get to have a play on the weekends, and then if I've got the energy and if the weather's nice. But I bought the Mk5 e-bike down to the suburbs with me. Now, I'd only really had the chance to ride it the day before I started working, and it was on this bike path. And if you've seen that video, you'll know that it was absolutely packed with people. I mean, it sort of put me off really riding it again. Add to the fact that, starting back at work, it took me a while to really get my energy levels up. But I decided that it's not terribly far to get to work, and I thought, it's a great opportunity to have a ride. And my theory was right. The bike path is not nearly as crowded in the morning, and I'm lucky enough I only have to start at 9:30 a.m, so I don't even have to get up that early anyway. So yeah, the Mk5 is a front wheel hub 48 volt kit, which obviously I built it myself, hence I've given it a Mark number, being the 5th bike that I've modified. In the past, I've done these videos in the Mk5 and I've just sped them up because, let's face it, without the engine it is just a little bit boring. But this one I thought I'll just leave in real time. I do like to show how well the bike does perform. It is actually really, really smooth. Full battery, I can cruise along this path at around 40 k's an hour, and if you look closely at that speedo on the left hand side, you can see, and I've reason to believe it's fairly accurate. I haven't tested it against, the GPS app yet, because I don't really care about top speeds, to be honest. I just care that the bike doesn't fall apart and I can get where I'm going. Now, I actually did a viability test the night before. My theory was that after work, if I don't have the energy to ride to work and back then and there, then what's the point in even riding to work? Now, I did actually have the battery charger in the backpack to take to work, but what I'd found is in the 9 kilometers it took to ride to work, the battery had not lost enough voltage to even register that it needed charging. So it just came on green light telling me it was fully charged the whole time, and it actually just sat there cycling. It didn't actually charge to full, which is really, really good. And it was what I had done the previous night. I rode, as I say, to work and back, and I used about maybe just over or just under half a battery charge. The bike didn't slow down at all, which is what happens when the battery voltage does drop, and I was really happy about that. So in the future I'm not bothering to take the charger, because you can comfortably go that 18 to 20 kilometers, however long it might take, without worrying that your bike's going to go flat. Even if I had to ride double the distance to work, I think I'd be fine. But that's the thing about using an e-bike to ride to work. You've got plenty of time for that battery to recharge, even if I flattened it completely. By the end of the working day, it's full, ready to go again. That's what they say the downside to the e-bikes is they do go flat really quickly, especially compared to the 2-strokes and the 4-strokes, which is so much easier just to put a tank of fuel in and off you go. But I had been missing going for rides, and I thought this was a great opportunity to, enjoy having the Mk5 with me. compared to the first time I hit this bike track, I was having an absolute blast. There's still people that you've got to watch out for, but when I'd ridden originally, I barely broke 20 k's an hour because, you turn around a corner and there's another pack of people on the path. But at this time of the morning, this is just after 9 a.m. It's not very crowded at all. I mean, there's probably a normal amount of people on there, and it would be even less crowded if I was working the early shift, coming in at 6 a.m. and it would be near deserted then. But the people I pass, I always slow down for, and what I've noticed is the amount of people that have basically thanked me for slowing down and riding safe. And that's hilarious because there is not a single cyclist that I haven't zipped past on this bike. And there are some pretty serious, guys in their full, cycling lycra outfits or whatever the hell they call it, pedaling their little legs out, and there I am zipping past. Now you do see my knees popping up and down, and a lot of that is just fake pedaling. There's no real need to give the bike any form of assistance on a path that is this flat. But sometimes, it is just an easy bike to ride, and that's because it is a good quality bicycle. I spent a couple $100 on this frame, and I haven't regretted it. I think the weak part is going to be that front hub motor, but even after I jumped it, it was actually on the way home from work on this day that I did that little jump, which I put up, I think, yesterday. And although I strongly would not recommend anybody try to jump a hub wheel, it survived. It didn't just collapse and fall apart, which is more than I can say for my original Mark II build, because I was practically walking speed and the bike slid out from underneath me when I tried to hop a curb, and I completely scalloped the rear wheel. It just happened so easily. And it does go to show that you've got to start these builds on a good quality frame and you will have less trouble. The biggest problem I'm having with my motorized bikes is that the motors work great, but it's the bicycle part that's failing. It's either the brakes are failing or the sprockets are failing. I've had the hub fail on the Mark IV. I mean, I do punish these bikes. I mean, the trails I take them, they're rough, I won't say off-road because that's a bit bold, but I do take them on gravel tracks and mountains and hills. It really is worlds apart being able to ride a smooth bike trail, and I really feel like that this bike was built for exactly this. I just must have known, take this bike with me, it's perfect. And it is really, really stealth. I mean, you're not going to get away with riding a motorized bike, 2-stroke or 4-stroke along here. You're just not. But nobody looks twice at an e-bike, especially not if you're slowing down past the pedestrians and fake pedaling, let's face it. Further along the bike trail, I think there were a couple of kids possibly on their way to school or wagging, whatever they were doing, pedaling their little hearts out trying to get ahead of me, and I just zipped past them. No pedaling, just because I can, and I like being a bit of a smart ass. This cyclist up here is one of the ones I was talking about earlier. He's probably doing a good 30 k's there, pedaling away, and here I come along. Ding ding. Get the hell out of my way. Give him a jaunty wave. You see, fake pedaling. Here I go. Look, I'm really pedaling this fast, I promise. The thing about that is the e-bikes are supposed to be limited to 25 k's an hour, which is absolutely ridiculous. Because you can just pedal that fast. So having an e-bike that only goes that fast is redundant. Now, you listen closely and you do hear a bit of rattling and carrying on, and that is one of the things I do have to address on the build. The problem is that the battery rack frame, it's basically just built for a universal fit. And the problem is that every bike is slightly different. And this frame is not one that was designed to carry a rack. So if you've watched the build video, you'll have noticed that I actually had to drill the frame to create the front mount. Now, the rear mounts, where it takes most of the weight, is only a 5mm threaded hole in the frame, but the bike rack is a 6mm hole. And although it's secure, it's Loctite, it's not going to rattle loose on me, there is that slight movement and rattle that you can hear every time I go over a slight bump. And I mentioned that in the comments of the little bunny hopping videos. That's something I really need to address, is boring out those 5mm holes to 6mm. I've already drilled 6mm holes in the front of the frame. I had thought about just adding washers and whatnot, and I just thought, look, I really do have to cut the crap. But the reality is that's not something I'm likely to get to until I bring the Mk5 back down to the countryside and reunite it with the other bikes, because all my tools are obviously with my other bikes where I need them. Aside from that, I really don't have a great deal of spare time to go tinkering with the bike, so if something does break, I'll just stick it in the car and, you know, take it for the 150k drive down. But fingers crossed, as I say, nothing will go wrong. It has been fairly reliable so far, but that's not saying much, considering that according to the odometer on the little trip computer on the left there, I've done barely over 100k's, and that's not really long enough to tell if it's going to be a reliable build. Here are the kids I was talking about just a little bit earlier. I hadn't zoomed past them yet because I've got to cross over this little bridge. Look at him go. He's like, quick pedal, 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 pedal. Get away from the weirdo with the orange hair and the bike. And what's hilarious is just here we go, just how quickly I catch up to him. Zip. Look at him. What the hell? See ya. So I'm pretty lucky. I'm able to do the majority of my commute into work on the bike path. There's only a little ride on the streets either side of the bike path, and actually longer on this end of the ride than the first. I'm actually really lucky. From driveway to bike path is only about 150 meters. This was a bit hairy passing that truck, but yeah, no dramas. There's somewhere along here, I was muttering at the GPS I had playing in my ear. Somewhere on the left is a tiny little bike path, blink and you'll miss it, that it was telling me to turn down, and I couldn't find it. Right there, on the left. And the road it links up to is just at the end of this one anyway, so it is actually easier. But there is no way known that I would ride on such a busy road as up ahead. 3 lanes both ways. I mean, it's not particularly busy at this time of the morning, but I wouldn't do it. I don't trust drivers. There is a general hatred of cyclists in and around the city of Melbourne anyway. So I just prefer to stick to the footpaths. And I'm just pedaling here basically, not really on the full throttle because, you know, it's narrow, there's not much room and I don't want to come a cropper. So this is the only major intersection that I have to cross coming to and from, I should say. And I sped this up. 1:38 to cross the intersection, which really isn't bad. But look, you came here to see some riding, I'm sure, not seeing me sitting at a set of traffic lights for nearly 2 minutes. So this road up here obviously isn't nearly as busy, and it's a bit wider than you know, most of the roads around. So once I get a little bit further from the main intersection, you know, I'm a little bit more comfortable riding along the road because there's actually enough room for a car to pass without, you know, causing a head-on accident or just cleaning you up. People don't watch what they're doing. So yeah, I just tootle up the footpath. You know, if you've stuck with me this long, you know what, give us a thumbs up. That's awesome. And let me know. I mean, it's not the most exciting video, and I'm not the most exciting person to sit here and listen to. I'm just literally ranting and carrying on. Thunk, thunk. Down the gutter there. So if you've stuck around for this, thanks. Thanks a billion, because it means a lot. There's only a handful of you that regularly watch my videos, and I love that fact. I don't make these videos for anyone other than myself, really. It started as a way to keep track of what I was doing in my project. If I forgot how to do something, or if I mucked up, I could rewatch my video. But it's taken off since April. My channel's gotten an extra 55 subscribers, so, you know, thanks a ton. I really appreciate that you guys are liking what I've been putting up. You know, that's awesome, considering this is just a fun little hobby for me. And, you know, I love it when you guys comment, and, you know, I don't always sort of respond, but I'll try and give you at least a thumbs up, because I really appreciate the effort of you guys stopping by and, you know, letting me know that you've seen it, and I've picked up some tips and tricks. So yeah. We're very, very near work now. It's sort of funny, you've got this pocket of residential estate, and then all of a sudden it's smack bang into some industry. Now, one of the main reasons I decided to bite the bullet and ride to work was because there's no parking. It's a dead-end street, and the factory I'm working in has maybe a dozen car parks, and there's, what, I think more than 30 of us working in the factory at the moment. So, you know, trying to fit 20 or 30 cars up and down that street is mostly the furniture factory. The only real hill that I have to deal with is the one that leads down to the factory, and in the afternoon, well, I just cruise up on the motor. It's really easy. It'll do about 20 k's an hour. It's a fairly steep hill, but I don't have to pedal, so I don't care. Summer Lane. Now, normally there's cars banked right all the way up here, and this is us at the very end. Normally I park my car between the two driveways on the right there. But there's trucks that go in and out of these driveways, and eventually I'm going to come out and my bumper will be missing one day. So up the back of the factory here, you see just how long it is. Like, this is all us. I mean, that is a really, really big floor space we're working with here. So I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to park my bike in the air compressor shed, but it's like the only covered space out of the factory that I can really park the bike where it's not going to get cleaned up by the forklift. But it is fairly close to the dust extractor too, so when I came out in the afternoon, it was filthy. So look, I'm going to cut the narration here. There's basically just a walkthrough of the factory to go, and honestly, if you've come this far, you may as well stick to the end, right? Oh, plenty of times.